Hey everyone, it's Brano, and I want to talk about how embracing your limitations can help you specialize as an indie game developer. Now, when you first get into game development, chances are is that your favorite games are all AAA, and that you have zero dreams of making smaller games. Now, I recently made a video that was sort of defending the dream game, but not really. And what I was really making a case for was that you should just focus on the game you want to make, or the smallest game you want to make, to try and get out from the novice stage of game development to the intermediate stage of game development. And the reason why I think this is important is because when you release your first game that you really care about and it doesn't do very well, your idealism and ego will be crushed, which makes you a lot more willing to absorb new ways of thinking. And if you want to go from intermediate to pro, you're going to have to think about game dev very differently, unless you got lucky and managed to land on the bullseye. I didn't. But I have reached the point of being a semi-pro developer. I've made 87,000 USD gross revenue, which means after taxes, refunds, Steam cut, and rev share, I have about 30,000 USD left for me before income tax and business tax. But despite all of this, I am becoming more and more certain that I will be making it to the professional stage of game development within the next couple of years. But at the same time, I am becoming more and more aware of my weaknesses and limitations as a game developer, and more aware of what I will never be able to do. Which sounds really negative, but it's actually really good, because it's pushing me towards a direction that I actually have a chance in. Now, as a good programmer, I am able to make a lot of different systems. I can hack together pathfinding, I can do procedural generation, and if you give me like a large data set, I'll be able to create systems and schemas that pass through it really easily. So I've got a large selection of game mechanics that I can engage with, but I'm only a good programmer. And so when you start getting into genres like RTS or other games that require like complex client synchronization in multiplayer, that is completely out of reach for me. But fortunately, that's only a subsection of games, so the scope of what I'm able to do as a developer is not that limited. Now, on the art front, I am mediocre. Not bad, but mediocre. I can't do anything fleshy. Every time I try to do something organic, it looks terrible. I spend hours on it, and I'm like, I just can't get it. But I do think that with enough effort, I am able to make a simple yet consistent art style where about 80% of the assets are good enough. But then there's the 20% of the assets which aren't. And those 20% of the assets really matter. But through embracing my limitations, I have become a lot more comfortable to just pay people to cover that area for me. But as a result, and as a result of the fact that I can't pay people to be full-time artists for me, I can only make games where I can get away with having okay, good enough art. And that is quite limiting. In terms of musical talent, in terms of music, I have zero talent. So I just contract that out. But given the fact that my art levels are just good enough because I contract out the parts that I'm really bad at, I am limited in the types of games that I can do. I can engage in pretty complex game mechanics, but I can't engage in any games that require atmosphere or graphical fidelity or certain art styles or needs to be beautiful, that type of thing. I can't do it. Now, in terms of personal interests, I believe that you need to like the game that you're working on. And like most people, my favorite games are made by large teams. So over the past couple of years, I have played significantly more indie games than I had previously. And a large number of those games I didn't really like that much, but I still felt that there is zero chance I could make anything as good as it. But I've also played games that I thought were decent or even good, and I felt I can compete with this. I could make a game that's equally as good or better than this. And the vast majority of those games are roguelites. And given that these games sell, I have the skills to make them, and I personally enjoy playing them, I think that I'm going to specialize as a roguelite developer that doesn't lean towards hardcore meta progression, because I don't really like it when games solve themselves. That's sort of the direction I think I'm headed. And I'm seeing a lot of game dev YouTubers who have been around for a while begin to develop this similar specialization strategy. You've got Grizzly Games, or Jonas Tyrola, who is specializing in strategy games with minimalistic control schemes. You got Mrs. I think I did one too many ises, but he specializes in horror or Bioshock games with convoluted control schemes. Complete opposite, but they sell, he specializes in it, and he does well. Thomas Brush, he specializes in narrative-driven artsy action games. Whereas Bite Me, who has been struggling to find their footholding, I think is going to begin to start specializing in streamer slop games. Because that's sort of the direction that they're headed, that's where the success is, and that's the type of game that they have fun developing. And that's how I think I'm going to get out from this intermediate level development hood to the professional world. Not by making streamer slop games, but by specializing in an area I think I have an advantage in. But why should you take advice from someone who is not yet successful? Well, I have a video answering that question. Should you listen to unsuccessful game developers? It's on the side or in the description. Have a good one, guys.